Megan.
Hello. Good morning. Good evening. Good day. And good times.
Oh, good times. That's cute. Yeah, I like that. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Hey Mama, I Have Questions. I'm Hannah.
And I'm Megan.
And Megan has a new background today.
I do have a new background. Yeah, for anyone watching, it may be familiar to you. I'm at my parents' house, and so I'm recording from my mom's office because why, when I am scheduled to record, would I remember to bring my laptop and my microphone with me? That would just be silly. So I didn't.
Well, maybe because you have a toddler that you already need to remember a million things for. So
yeah,
something falls through the cracks. That's okay.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't pack before the hour before we were leaving. So, also.
Yep.
Here we are. But luckily.
Hashtag real life.
Hashtag real life. My mom has these things. And so we can still record, and that's great.
Yay. And what are we talking about today?
We're talking about getting back into moving your body after you're pregnant and have baby. Specifically, me getting back into moving my body after I was pregnant and had a baby.
Because that's what we can speak, that's what you can speak to. I can listen.
Right, yeah. Because the reason I didn't pack until an hour before we left yesterday was because I went to a yoga class yesterday morning. And that was like such an exciting thing. I have been staring at this yoga studio as I drive by it. It's right near my house. It's like 5 seconds from my house.
Nice.
And I've been looking over at it going, oh, I'd like to do some yoga. And I did that since we moved into this house, which was like 2 years ago. At this point, I've been like staring at this yoga studio. Of course, there was the whole of like 2020 and
right.
Panini Press times where going to yoga classes wasn't really a thing that anyone was comfortable doing or even allowed to do sometimes. So this past week, I was like, I want to go to a yoga class. I'm going to look up that yoga studio because I have been feeling... Okay. Rewind. We're going back into history. When I was pregnant, I knew that there were rules about how you exercise and what kind of exercise was okay and what kind of moves were not okay while you're pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
I did not look them up.
Because we've said this before, there are so many things to look up.
I was looking up
and decide on that, you know, some things get filtered out.
Right. And the first few months of pregnancy, I didn't want to do diddly. I didn't want to do a thing. Like, I was not interested in walking down the hall, much less anything more strenuous.
Yeah. Have we talked about this, your first trimester? Do people know that?
Did.
So you want to mention why that was?
I was going to bed at about 7:30, 8 o'clock every night, and very nauseous, and when I wasn't going to work, I was sleeping till 9 or 10. Like, I was just sleeping all the time, and when I wasn't sleeping, I was usually nauseous.
Yeah.
If I hadn't just eaten something that I was interested in eating.
Which also was a challenge to figure that out. Right.
There weren't too many things that I didn't want to eat. It was just that I didn't want to eat. But every time I ate, I felt better. Because that's kind of how pregnancy nausea works. You're nauseous because you need more food, you need more fuel.
Mm-hmm.
So, or at least that's the way I've heard everyone I know of explain it. When you eat, you usually feel better. So that was the beginning of pregnancy. And then I think that the warnings about don't exercise too hard are for people that are not me. Because I don't tend to push myself too hard, period, in terms of exercise. So I think hearing that just made me nervous and instead like paralyzed me on the exercise front, which is, it's hard to get motivated to exercise all the time for me. So having that little bit of a barrier was just like, okay, well then I'll just like wait until later. So then basically I did a little bit of like the Yoga with Adriene prenatal yoga pack. I did download that, and I think I did all of the classes once. So I did 4 sessions of yoga, which is very gentle yoga. It's very, very gentle yoga, which is wonderful and lovely, especially later in pregnancy. But not what I was looking for exactly.
Right.
Because I was looking something that would actually like challenge my muscles.
Oh, okay. And I just thought maybe this would also be relevant for reference. You didn't have a specific workout routine before you got pregnant, right?
No,
that maybe might have felt you more comfortable with like knowing what you could and couldn't do, and you know what I mean?
Right. If I had, I think if I were more educated in terms of exercise and training generally, then I think I could have had more points of reference for what was and wasn't okay in pregnancy. I did have a pretty regular, like I would say at least weekly yoga practice that I did from home. Mainly with Yoga with Adriene, which if you haven't checked it out yet, she's amazing. And we'll probably link her. Not that she needs us to link her, but just in case you're interested.
She really doesn't, but
she doesn't need a thing. But she is lovely, so I'm always happy for people to find that channel. So I had some sort of regular thing that I did, but not that intense. Okay. And it's not something that I've engaged deeply with, exercise and moving around. So, or like how the body interacts with exercise, I guess.
Right.
Anyway, so when I got to the point where I was like, oh, I should be exercising, I basically just like did some squats and did some gentle yoga and did a lot of walking. I did a lot of walking. I think as we all did at the beginning of 2020. We all did a lot of walking that spring.
I think we even talked about that in one episode. We were like, all of a sudden, everyone is outside. There's so many people walking.
Yep. People were walking all over the place. Myself and my husband included. And he was really great because he was like forcing me to go walking, which is so excellent sometimes. And so we walked pretty much every day for at least a half hour.
Oh, wow, that's great.
For my last trimester. And I think, when I got closer and closer to the end, that turned into more like 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Because I did have a lot of pelvic girdle pain, and that is...
Oh, yeah, I remember
not great for walking.
Yeah.
Just occasionally you get stabbed in the pubic bone and have to stop for a minute. So that was my pregnancy exercise lifestyle and times. Then after I had the baby, I was recovering. I was having a baby.
Mm-hmm.
Again, there was still a lot of like walking. We went on walks after the first few weeks. And yeah, and even that though, recently, so that held up for a long time. We went on walks almost every day. And even when I went back to work, we were still walking in the afternoons and evenings. And sometimes on a break during the day, I'd take the baby for a walk. So I was still moving, and it was, it was good. It was fine. My body didn't like ask me for something more,
Yeah.
And then in the last few months, my child has started walking himself and is far less interested in being pushed in a chair for long periods of time.
Uh-huh.
So, like, he's up for going on a stroller walk for, like, 15, 20 minutes. He's up for going on a stroller walk in a new place, if there's lots of new things to look at. And he's up for going on a walk for a certain amount of time until either he really wants to do something that we can't let him do, or he gets tired and wants to be carried. Usually that doesn't translate to wanting to be in the stroller. So walks have gotten harder.
Yeah.
Walks have gotten harder, and it's gotten darker earlier, so we have less time in the evening to walk outside. And it's gotten colder, so that also adds an element of barrier.
Yeah.
So I just haven't been moving all that much for the past 2 months or so. And I started really feeling it. Like, I was achy and stiff and sore and, like, just uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure other people have experienced this, but, like, when you are sitting so much and moving from one chair at work to a chair in your car to a chair at home, or
it makes my body achy just
like,
talking about it. I hate that feeling.
Yeah, it's really, really achy. It was just not good. And so I finally had enough this week and was like, I'm looking up this yoga studio. I'm going to see if they have a class that's at a time that I can attend it. And they're super reasonably priced, which is so exciting, because where I've lived before, exercise classes can be really expensive. And so I was like, I'm doing this. And so I texted Hunter and I was like, Saturday morning, 9 to 10:15, I want to go to a yoga class. You can hang out with the baby before we leave for the weekend. And he sent me some adorable, like, he works at a school, so he had to make a memoji, I think it's called.
Mm-hmm.
So he sent me, like, the little avatar of him with a sounds good, and there was, like, a speaker. It was super cheesy and adorable. I loved it. It was amazing.
It's hard for me to imagine that. Hunter is not the type of person to do that.
I know, and that's what makes it
so much
hilarious
cuter
when he uses it. It just makes it absolutely hilarious when he uses that thing, because it's so not his style. Like, he doesn't even use emojis ever.
Yeah. In my mind, he doesn't
like,
even text. Like, in my mind, he has this old bone of a phone that, like, he calls his dad on, and then that's it.
He would for that to be the case. Working in a modern place, you have to have a smartphone.
Oh,
so he has a smartphone. And he does text. But the, like, memoji avatar of himself is really, like, hilariously outside of his norm. So, yeah. So I didn't even get scared and decide not to do it because I'd already paid for it. And I had signed up online, so they were expecting me there. And I put on clothes and I went to yoga. And I took my yoga mat, which made me feel very cool and legit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so intimidating to go to a place like that for the first time.
Yeah.
Especially when you haven't exercised in so long.
Right.
Because so I know that I don't care what anyone else is doing in there, but I do feel like I'm in a competition and going to lose if I'm not cool enough.
Oof.
Yeah. And I don't think I'm the only one that feels that way about exercise classes.
No, you're not. Definitely not.
But it also is, once you're comfortable, you realize how disconnected that is from reality. Once you've done it a few times, once you've been in a class for a while, it doesn't feel that way as much anymore. But yeah, so a lot of that class was just like bringing my head back to my own body and not, and like blocking out. Luckily, the way I was positioned, I couldn't really see anybody but the teacher, which was excellent.
Good job.
But yeah, it was a thing. And I'm looking forward to going back. Because it was really cute and fun and like, yeah, just very comfortable. Yeah, so it was good. I mean, I am going to have to get over the hump of buying a pass, scheduling the class, and then showing up again, which is going to be a process. But I did talk to Hunter about a schedule for when I would do it. So I might go ahead and sign up for like a few classes. So then I have fewer times to do that.
That's a really great tip, like to already pay for the thing. Yeah. Because then it's more painful to not go. Like you're losing something. You already paid for it.
Yeah.
So if you want to make yourself do something, I think it's a really great tip right here to pay for it up front.
Yeah. Yeah.
You gotta find ways to trick yourself. I'm always trying to find ways to trick myself when I have something like that that's difficult for me to get over it, start doing something.
Get over the starting thing. Yeah. 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 And I think patience with myself has been good. I have been pretty patient with myself about doing this. Because there can be a lot of like shame and pressure around exercise. Yeah. Especially as a mom, like, because you're supposed to like, I think most of the circles that we engage with in momdom or parenthood are not that interested in like getting your body back or whatever, but like my body's a lot weaker than it was before I was pregnant. Significantly. And that's something I would like to get back. I want to get my strength back.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think getting used to the way that my body is post-pregnancy will be easier and will have less like negativity attached to it if I can feel comfortable and confident in how I'm using it.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of it for me too.
Right.
And just like taking care of myself. I don't want to be weak and sore and achy because I haven't moved around, you know, like I want my joints to work. I want to be able to move when I am older. I'm already noticing that I'm not 23 anymore, you know, like
Oh my God.
And not because anything is like breaking, but like I was really active as a teenager, and that strength carried through my 20s, even though I wasn't doing a lot of exercising. Like the strength that I built up as a younger person carried into adulthood for me in a big way. But, you know, now I'm like 10, 15 years out of that, and like turns out you can't just be 23 forever. Like, and have the strength of your work from 4 years ago. But I did learn somewhere that once you build up strength once, it's easier to rebuild it. Because of the way that muscle cells work. And like muscle memory is a physical thing as much as it is anything else. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. If any of you guys have any suggestions, send me your tips. And be nice to yourself, because exercise is a whole vibe.
Yeah.
And I think doing it when it's for you is the goal.
Yeah, the motivation matters. If you're doing it for yourself or like working against your body, your biology. Like, are you doing it out of self-love or self-hate?
Right.
And what I've been hearing from you is that you're doing it out of self-love, which carries through, like the way you talk about yourself and the way you, I loved how you walked us through like the thoughts that come up and how you then try to reel yourself back in and like focus on your why, and that carries through to the how. And
yeah
and that was clear in the audio message that you sent me yesterday after the yoga class, that you were so excited about, and like that it's even exciting feeling sore right now. And
it is.
Yeah.
I was sore after I went sailing last week, which is also what made me go, yep, I need to do something about this.
This is a sign.
I should be able to climb in and out of a boat without needing to take a bath later. Yeah, so I think that I'm, to be totally transparent, I'm talking about it this way because I want to be thinking about it this way.
Mm-hmm.
So, so it's not always 100% this is how I feel about it.
Yeah. It's also a process.
Yeah, exactly. and an emotional one, clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
And I think part of my not wanting to exercise has been reacting against the way that exercise is used to shame people. And people that have regular exercise practice, not all the time, but often talk about like, just do it, just get up and do it, just like make the decision, and it's not that hard once you get started. And like, I understand why people say things like that, but it's not a just anything. You can't just anything. You have to, or at least I have to, create a space where it's okay if I take an action, and then also create an action that is achievable, or like find an action that's achievable. And find the energy for that moment to take that action, right? So, and I think this might be part of the way that my brain works, but like, that is a process that it's okay to struggle with. And the narrative of just start, like, is, I think I was for a long time reacting against that, because I mean, a little bit of like, don't tell me what to do. Little bit of that. But also, it's hard to start. It's hard to just start. So
I think that's part of what that just do it is, because the hardest part usually is the starting.
Right.
Which is why, you got to figure out how to get over that hump. I like the approach that is explained in Atomic Habits, the book Atomic Habits. He says to find, so whatever your goal is, whatever you want to do, and exercise is a great example. That's usually the prime example of whenever one talks about habits or whatever. Find the smallest thing, like what the first step is. So the example he uses is, if you want to start a habit of running, then what you do first for, 2 weeks or whatever X amount of time, is when you get home from work, you put on your running shoes and you step out the door, and then you're done. And then you can go back inside, take the running shoes off again, and you just practice that for, the time frame he uses, let's say 2 weeks, and then you take the next step, which might be, you run for 2 minutes and then you go back home. Or if you want to start going to the gym, is another example he makes, is that your first step is you go to the gym and then you go back home. You don't get onto any machine, you don't do anything, you just go to the gym. So maybe a better would be, for your example, it would have been you get your yoga mat and you go to the studio and then you go back home.
Oof, that sounds hard.
I thought it was very interesting, because I often catch myself in that. I make these big goals of like, I'm now gonna, for a month, run a mile every day. And like, to go from not doing anything to that is a really big step and is really hard. And I'm gonna run into so many obstacles. So I like the idea of lessening the obstacles and just making the just do it smaller.
Right.
And then when I've mastered this one and it has become a habit and it has become easy and I don't need to think about it, I don't need to have this mental struggle every time of I have to now hype myself up to just do it. Once that part is automated, then I can take the next step.
Yeah.
Instead of having to climb this huge mountain on day one.
Yeah.
I don't know, it just
Yeah,
made me think of that when you were talking.
No, I love that.
Thanks for sharing. I think this is something most of humankind struggles with, exercise.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think also for birthing people.
Yeah.
Well, also parents because of just time.
Time constraints.
And then another layer.
And like we talked about a couple weeks ago, coordinating schedules and care and all of that.
Yeah. And then another layer, the people that actually birthed the person and had their body go through a huge process.
Yeah.
I know that is a big thing that many, many, many people struggle with. So thank you for sharing your journey.
Yeah. Well, I know that every time I hear something, it can have one of two effects. Something about exercising, right? It either makes me want to do it more or want to do it less. So I'm hoping there are more people that want to do it more than want to do it less. But I'm pretty excited about it. And I'm excited not in a frantic way, which is even more exciting. Because I'm not like obsessed with the idea of doing it, which is one way that I get excited about things. I'm happy and I'm proud that it happened. I'm proud that I did it. And I'm looking forward to doing it again.
Yay!
Yeah.
That's what she said.
So, whew, what a time.
Yeah.
Alrighty. I think that's about it for today.
Yep. Cool.
Have a lovely day, everyone.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. I'll talk to you next week.
Till next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.